Hi friends, we've got this rhombus PQRS and they've given you some of these dimensions as you can see in the diagram. You've got one side which is given to be 5x plus 5, another side is given to be 3x plus 4, one of the identified angles is 12y and one more angle identified as 6y degrees. Okay, the question is find the measure or find the value for the variable z. Okay, let's go about doing this. Um let's use the property that diagonals of a rhombus bisect opposite angles, and if that is the case, if you look at the rhombus, you have diagonal QS, which is bisecting angle Q, and therefore this other angle also becomes 12y. Right? If I identify the point of intersection of the diagonals as point O, we get triangle QOR to be a right triangle, given the fact that diagonals of a rhombus break the rhombus into 4 right triangles, and therefore triangle QOR is a right triangle. And if that is the case, we can mark it as a right triangle, and so are these other triangles. These are also right triangles, right? If you look at triangle QOR, you have two acute angles 12y and 6y, and acute angles of a right triangle, they add up to 90 degrees because they are complementary, and therefore you get 12y plus 6y equals 90, and therefore y turns out to be 5. And if that is the case, angle PQO, measure of angle PQO, which is 12y, turns out to be 12 times 5, which is 60 degrees. Right? So what is the nature of triangle POQ? Triangle POQ turns out to be a 30, 60, 90 triangle. This becomes 30 degrees. Why? Because this angle 12y degrees turned out to be 60 degrees, right? So it's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Now you have segment OS, which is 3z. Therefore, segment QO also becomes 3z because diagonals of a rhombus being a parallelogram, diagonals of a rhombus, they bisect each other. So if one portion of the diagonal is 3z, the portion QO also becomes 3z, right? So keep that in mind. Length of let me use a new color. Length of segment QO becomes 3z. Okay, and remember that we need to find the value for z. Before we proceed to z, let us use another property for a rhombus, which is adjacent sides of a rhombus are equal in length, and therefore we can say 5x plus 5 equals 3x plus 4, and that gives you 2x equals negative 1, and that gives you x equals negative half. And if that is the case, length of PQ becomes 5 times negative half plus 5, which is 2.5, right? So this tells you that negative value for a variable should not immediately be discarded. You should not get worried that, oh, how come I got a negative value, right? You should continue and plug it in and ensure that an angle does not turn out to have a negative value, or a segment does not turn out to have a negative length, right? So in this case, PQ and also PS or other all sides of this rhombus would be of the length 2.5. Remember what we need to find. We need to find the length of z. We need to find the value for z. Let's go back to triangle POQ. Triangle POQ, let me draw it separately. It's a right triangle. right? The hypotenuse is 2.5. This angle is 60 degrees. This is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. This angle is 30. Right? This is P, this is O, this is Q, right? QO is 3Z, right? So we use the fact that in a 30, 60, 90 triangle, the side opposite to 30 degrees is half the length of the hypotenuse, which means length of segment QO is half the length of the hypotenuse, which is half the length of segment PQ. And therefore, if I replace QO as 3Z, we get 3Z equals half of 2.5. And therefore, Z becomes 2.5 divided by 2 and further divided by 3, and therefore Z turns out to be 0.4166. I hope you understood the approach that we took and the properties of rhombus that we applied. Write back to me if you have any questions, any comments. Thank you.